It's been an eventful year for White Bear Lake. We'll take a look at some of the stories we brought you in 2013 as we ring in a new year.
There have already been hundreds of crashes this season, and we've got a long way to go. We'll tell you how to stay safe when conditions are dangerous.
I'm Tracy Minarchuk.
And I'm Ron Hawkins. Thanks for joining us for the first Lake Area Beat of 2014. How were your holidays?
They were very good. I had the holidays off, so I got to be home with my little guy. So, how about yours?
Very good. Great. Spent time with family and friends, and I got the best family, and I've got the best friends.
Oh, that's pretty good then. Well, some White Bear Lake safety officials, including the two of us, started off 2013 by getting our feet wet.
And we definitely got more than our feet
yes,
wet.
Yes, we did.
Here's the bone-chilling story with a warm and happy ending.
Polar plunges, they started about 16 years ago throughout the state of Minnesota. The first one was actually on Como Lake, and it started with about 100 people that plunged, and they saw the potential that that created. Here we are 16 years later. This is the kickoff to the 2013 polar plunge season. This is my first of 8 plunges that I'll be doing throughout this entire season.
It was freezing. I like the total anticipation walking up there is just like crazy. I think all of us were talking about, oh my gosh, is it too late to back out?
It's kind of like team building for the whole police department and everybody that was in the tent getting ready to jump. It was awesome. It's really great for the Special Olympian athletes, so it's just a lot of fun.
The wait was a little longer this year, but it was really a huge crowd. I think probably this is my 3rd year jumping, and it was bigger than the 2 previous years, and people were really riled up. And it's just, I think this is the coldest year I've jumped too, but just knowing how cold that water is going to be and how cold the air is going to be when you get out of that water, that's the worst, just that anticipation.
It was actually warmer than I thought, but I hear everybody else said it was cold. I thought it was warm.
You're talking about the water?
The water, yes, the lake water.
Yeah, it was cold, but it wasn't like, you kind of anticipate you're going to jump in and go, and I didn't do that either. It was definitely once you got out of the lake.
So when you got out, it was cold.
Yeah,
that
absolutely.
Was cold. And then you had to run to the hot tubs.
And the hot tubs were the best part, I thought.
The best part.
We had a chance to visit with you, Tracy, earlier this year on a more personal level. Here's what we learned.
I was born out in Wilmington, Delaware, and that's where I was raised initially. And then my family moved to Minnesota. I wore hats and sunglasses and bikinis, and I probably could have been on toddlers and tiaras. My sister and I both wanted to act, and she actually wanted to be a clown. I don't know who wants to be a clown, but my sister did. I had no idea in high school what I wanted to do, and I had a lot of options, and just like any other high school student going to college, not knowing what you want to do, I actually started off going to the University of Minnesota, and I majored in psychology. And all I knew after doing that was that I didn't want to sit indoors 8 hours a day, 5 days a week, and work in an office. So I came across Apple Valley police officer, Bloomington police officer, state patrol, trooper, and they were all just very nice talking to me and kind of almost mentors, talking about law enforcement. So I decided to go to school for law enforcement, and I finally found a place where I fit in. I fit in with the school, got straight A's, just really enjoyed the training and the people in it. My mom was a little surprised about what I was getting into from, working out in the suburbs, dry cleaners and, no action, to carrying a gun and pulling my gun out and arresting people for drugs and guns. Drop the gun, drop it! My stepmom and dad went out and bought me a bulletproof vest because my security company didn't supply it. We had to purchase our own, so they hurried up, bought me one of those, and sent me back out on the streets. So they were very worried, but all of them very proud. I've been a police officer now for 16 years. When I first started, people asked me about the job, and I had a lot of stories and a lot of things to share and new experiences and bad moments and good moments, but after you've done it so long, you tend to forget about it. You kind of move on. You learn how to deal with tragedies and good times and bad. You just push it out of your mind and move on to the next one, and there's so many. My husband and I got the dogs, and it was all about the dogs, and now the dogs are kind of an afterthought because it's all about our son. And every room we've got work stuff and toys, and that's all it is. We're a very silly family. We like to do weird things and dance and sing and play, and we'll get on the floor and play with my boy, and we have a lot of fun. His safety is on my mind than my own, is worrying about him. So he always comes first. He comes first with everything both my husband and I do. Oh! In 2013, we said goodbye to White Bear Lake's Police Chief Lynn Banks when she announced her retirement.
She worked in law enforcement for 35 years. And here's what some of her colleagues had to say about her.
During a Market Fest evening, we had a bunch of kids that, some of whom needed a little bit of straightening out, were acting up over by the cup and cone, and one was letting loose with a lot of profanities and obscene gestures and so forth. So Lynn started to approach him, and he showed, I think, considerable disrespect for her, and then started to run away, and she went after him on her Segway. And while controlling it with one arm, grabbed him by the collar with the other and brought him to an abrupt stop.
She really did pave the way. In Fridley, they only had 3 female officers. She was their first one, and then has continued to pave the way for women to become police officers and move up through the ranks of police departments.
I will miss not being able to do the hokey pokey with her at East Metro Place with the kids. And the reason she does that is she says this is the only positive interaction a lot of these kids have had with a police officer. They've only seen them at the worst time, and so she tries to make them realize that police are their friends. She did put up with a lot of adversity in the early years because she was the first woman police officer in Fridley. She was the first sergeant. She was the first woman lieutenant. I mean, she was the first in a lot of categories. And I'm sure she had to put up with a lot, but it didn't make her bitter. It didn't, it just made her stronger. And that was what made her a great police chief.
I think a lot of Lynn's success came from her communication style and just being very direct. And in our field, I think that's a skill set that's needed.
She's been involved with Alexandra House in that respect, in a leadership role since 1992. One of the things that I always remember Lynn saying is her goal or her vision of the work that she's doing with Alexandra House was that there would be a for sale sign in the front yard of the shelter. And the for sale sign would be there because we didn't need it anymore.
Lynn has been very involved with domestic violence long before becoming a police chief. I'm sure she's had a lot of exposure over her 35 years in law enforcement. The legacy she will leave behind with White Bear is her commitment to domestic violence.
I owe Lynn a great big thank you. She took a chance in hiring me, and that was the next progression in my career, and that's directly one of the reasons why I have the position I have today.
We're going to miss her. We wish she was staying, but we understand she wants to retire and do other things, but she's been a credit to our city and to our police department, and we've been proud to have her.
It was a great ride for her, and now she's got to just move on to that next phase, so I wish her luck.
One of the things that all of us in law enforcement know is that at some point it's going to be somebody else's turn. And if we practice what our parents or our grandparents told us, try to leave it better than you found it. And in Lynn's case, she certainly has done just that. She's left it better than she found it.
White Bear Lake should have a new police chief in February, and we hope to introduce you to that individual on the show shortly after. We'd also like to mention Captain Randy Johnson, who retired in December.
We'll miss him. He was a very nice captain, good captain, and we wish him the very best in his new opportunity.
Yes.
We're going to take a break, but when we come back,
we'll tell you how to stay safe on our roadways when conditions are dangerous.
You need to survive much more than the cold to be a polar bear plunger. It takes bravery. It takes camaraderie. It takes sacrifice. A plunger is a person of modesty. A person who puts duty over pleasure. There are no princesses here. Pampering is for the weak. They show no pain, no fear, no cowardice. The polar bear plungers put it all on the line, proudly sporting their uniform as a symbol of their philanthropic belly flop of greatness. All are welcome, from the purest at heart to the oldest of farts. Each year, millions of dollars are raised by these winter warriors for Special Olympics Minnesota. The number who have passed under the Great White Bear keeps growing, and the locations of this do-goodery is spreading across the state like wildfire. Looks like those guys could use some wildfire right about now. Join us. Be one of the charitable, one of the icicles, the many, the freezing, the polar bear plungers.
before winter even hit, hundreds of people crashed as the result of snow followed by freezing conditions.
Despite slippery streets, most accidents can be prevented by practicing very basic safety measures.
Well, it's been very busy for us. We've had hundreds of crashes almost every day that troopers have responded to. The temperatures and the conditions are less than ideal.
Snowfall on our streets is nothing new to Minnesotans, but the sub-zero temperatures following the snow have made the roads hazardous.
The ice is going to be on the roads at all times of day, and really until it warms up enough to get the roads completely clear.
With temperatures below average for this time of year, there could be a long road of complicated driving conditions ahead. Lieutenant Eric Roski with the Minnesota State Patrol says icy roads are unpredictable, unexpected, and require people to adjust their speeds.
It's not the slow drivers that cause the problem, it's the ones that are driving too fast.
He says in addition to slowing down, people should leave extra space between cars to allow for more braking distance, and plan ahead and leave early to make it where you need to be on time. And of course, wear your seatbelt. If you do get into a crash and can't pull off to a safe place, move on to the shoulder and stay in your car with your seatbelt fastened. State law also requires cars to move over one lane when approaching emergency vehicles. Safety officials also urge people to keep an emergency kit in their cars containing extra clothes and blankets, water, food, a plastic flashlight, and a bright cloth or emergency road sign. By planning ahead, you can increase your chance of getting where you need to be safely.
All the problems we talk about every time of this year can easily be avoided.
For more information on driving safety and a complete list of items for a winter travel kit, log on to the Department of Public Safety's website.
May is a month to remember for fallen officers. In 2013, the Roseville Police Department hosted a tribute to those who have died in the line of duty.
Lord, now we gather to pay our deepest honor to those of our officers killed in the line of duty. It matters not the style of shield they wore, only that they served with pride and honor. Lord, all that matters is that they were one of us.
It's a great day to celebrate the lives of the officers that gave the ultimate sacrifice and honor their family members that are still with us.
What so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming.
It's something comforting in knowing that others understand and that your loved one is part of a larger purpose, and that's what we try to convey today.
Blessed are the peacemakers, for they shall be called the sons and daughters of God. And blessed those who mourn, for they shall be comforted.
I remember two people coming to the door, and my older brother remembers this also. Two deputy sheriffs in plain clothes coming to the door and talking to my mother, and my mother started crying. All throughout growing up, I'd have sleepless nights where I'd think how things would have been if he was still alive. My life would have been different. I wouldn't change it so much, but it would have been different.
We must not and cannot forget those who stood tall and said, "Not on my watch."
Sometimes we forget what our priorities are in life. And I don't care whether you play basketball, good for you. If you're a great athlete, that's great. But in my world, that doesn't make you a hero. These people who are running into burning buildings, who are defending this nation, who are going to these calls where they could easily lose their life, to me, that's the heroes in our world, and they always will be.
From the Maplewood Police Department, Joseph Bergeron, end of watch, May 1st, 2010.
May we always cover with pride the shield we wear to honor all fallen officers whom we now commend to you.
This year will be the third annual memorial, and each year a different city in Ramsey County hosts the event.
And do you know where the event will be this year?
I do. It'll be in at the North St. Paul Police Department.
Oh, perfect. Very good. The White Bear Lake Police Department keeps its skills sharp by holding training drills several times a year. Here's a look at one of them.
We're doing our spring qualifications for White Bear Lake Police use of force and firearms training. We have less lethal use of force training taking place back at the PD right now. And then out here at Bald Eagle Sportsman's Association Range, we're doing firearms, we're doing Glock handgun, and then M16 rifle qualifications and training. First, we do a qualification to demonstrate and document that the officers are capable of using their weapons in a proper manner. That's what qualification is for, and that they have proficiency with it. The second part of the training is where we try to take that basic skill set and then add on to it with different drills. And we try to advance them onto different tasks with the firearm, like shooting multiple targets as opposed to one, or we'll add some type of stressful situation. Today we're doing something where we're shooting multiple targets where not only do they have to concentrate on shifting between multiple targets, but they also have to keep like a round count, which adds a little bit of stress to the drill, you know. So not only do they have to include movement, but they have to include thought as well while they're shooting. okay? And it may sound like a simple thing, but when you're getting up there and you're doing it and you're feeling the muzzle blast and that, it can get the adrenaline going, and it can be kind of a challenge. We qualify quite a bit. We come out to the outdoor range twice a year, once in the spring and once in the fall usually. And then in the winter we have indoor qualifications on our indoor range. And then we try to have at least 3, if not 4, qualifications throughout the year. Some departments, it's a once a year or twice a year deal. But since we're so close to the range out here, we like to come out and take use of it. Firearm skills, if they're not practiced with some frequency, they can deteriorate quite rapidly.
We're going to take a break, but when we come back, we'll find out how White Bear Lake set a world record in 2013.
I'm Lon Beatty.
And I'm Carrie Crotty. We're the host of Your Police Report. Winter driving has hundreds of Minnesotans losing control. We'll tell you how to avoid being one of them.
No one wants to discover their car isn't where they parked it. This month, we'll tell you why the city is amping up parking enforcement and how you can avoid being ticketed and towed.
Join us for these stories and much more on GTN Channel 16 or online at gtn.org.
In the heart of winter, it's fun to remember the warmer times, the kind of days where eating ice cream outdoors doesn't give you the chills.
Last summer, hundreds of people gathered to eat ice cream downtown White Bear Lake. So much they set a record.
Everybody first says, John, you're crazy, and then we want to be a part of it. How fun is this? Let's do it. And then when I asked for ridiculous things, they said, and what else do you need? What else can I give you? It's really been great.
Today is the day that we are going to break the world's record for the largest ice cream cone.
Sunday!
Yeah!
Isn't it supposed to be in like the book of world records or whatever?
This is so huge, you wouldn't believe it. It's 3 football fields long.
That's really long.
Yeah! No, I'll tell you, this is great. It's a wonder, as far as you can see are people.
So I'm looking at almost a half a mile here.
What am I looking forward to most? Eating the ice cream when it's done.
I'm excited to eat this Sunday.
Me too. We have the toppings, chocolate,
Fresh strawberries,
caramel,
cherries,
whipped cream,
and we have sprinkles.
Well, we're going to get in the Guinness Book of World Records, and to do that, the ice cream has to be not only made and scooped, but it has to be eaten. That's why we have all these people here.
That is quite a record. Unfortunately, it was short-lived once Palm Beach Gardens, Florida broke it 2 months later.
Suckers.
Well, I wasn't the only one who allowed a GTN crew into my home this year. Now it's Ron's turn to get a little personal.
I'm fluent in Spanish. Aloha. No, just kidding. My mom is 100% Mexican, so that makes me about half Mexican, and I think a lot of people don't know that or would look at me and would never guess that. I grew up in St. Paul. We've got 5 kids in our family. I've got 2 sisters and 2 brothers. I had a great childhood, a great upbringing. We played a lot, we picked on each other a lot, we played with the neighbors. I just got a ton of fond memories growing up. Said it was built in 1999. It'll take about 30 seconds to get their gear on. They'll hop in. I got basically 2 positions on the fire department. One is the full-time position and one is on the volunteer side of the fire department. Being on the ambulance is, I think, one of the best parts of being on the job, and I really like interacting personally with people. There can be 20 minutes of great, vigorous work, putting out a fire, and then 2 hours worth of cleanup. I think people that may have know me from work and don't know me that well at work, they may think during my off time I'm very stiff and professional. Little do they know. When my dad passed away, that was pretty tough on me. It was, him and I were pretty close. Our whole family was really close. When they opened him up, it was clear that there was much more cancer, originally the thought was that he may be around for another 2 or 3 months or so, but he was involved in some trials and that sort of thing, and he lived for another couple of years, and so I'm thankful for that. I think there's a lot of things that have helped me to be a better paramedic, and that's definitely one of them. My dad going through his cancer treatments and seeing him interact with other healthcare professionals.
I'm Tracy Menarchek.
And I'm Ron Hawkins, and this is Lake Area Beat.
Who gives you a call? How do you get contacted?
White Bear Lake recently had the honor of hosting the world's largest Sunday. I love being on the Lake Area Beat show, and I really appreciate Tracy being on the show. Her and I are like brothers and sisters, like brother and sister on the show. I think we get along pretty well, and she's a great cop, and she's a great co-host.
So, your best moment of 2013, Ron?
2013 was a good year for me. I had a lot of fun, did a lot of fun stuff outside of work. I went to the Grand Canyon, and that was really fun. Spent several days out there. And then with work, there was a lot of stuff going on. I guess work related, but not specifically with my job. We talked about some of the charity events, and we did the MS 150 bike ride from Duluth to White Bear Lake.
Yep.
And raised money for the Multiple Sclerosis Society. We had a team that did that, and we did that walk.
And the
from
polar
Duluth,
plunge.
And the polar plunge, yeah. So all kinds of stuff.
Lots of outdoors things.
Yeah, how about you?
It's over. That was the best part of 2013 for me.
Good one.
We'd like to remind you about White Bear Lake's upcoming Citizens Police Academy. It begins in February and is held every Monday night from 6 to 8:30. Topics included in the 8-week course are narcotics, traffic enforcement, and criminal investigations. You'll even have an opportunity to do a ride-along. Contact Officer Isaac Tuma for more information.
Before we go, we'd like to mention the passing of White Bear Lake resident Keith Warner, who started the annual Relay for Life 19 years ago. He was supportive of the fight against cancer and he had battled cancer several times in his life before getting sick and dying this fall of brain cancer.
We'll carry on his tradition by celebrating the 20th year of Relay for Life this summer. He will be missed by many. We had a good time in 2013, and we look forward to bringing you more stories that matter in 2014. Happy New Year, everyone. Thanks for watching.
We'll see you next time.